me. Are you alone? Yes. Well, listen, you know where. Yes, I did. No, the spare room. Well, he isn't awake yet. There's no one about at all. Well, I can't go on about it now. Someone might come in. Well, if anybody rings from home, will you swear to say I stayed with you? Darling, you promised. Well, in that case, just say I'm in the bath or something. I can't wait to tell you. All right. Good morning.
Good morning.
Have you any idea what time Mr. Essendine will call?
He will ring.
What time does he usually ring?
Oh, that would depend on what time he got to bed last night.
Well, I'm afraid we were rather late last night. You see, we were at a party and Mr. Essendine very kindly offered to drive me home. And it was then I'd realized I'd forgotten my latchkey. And I know I shouldn't wake the servants because they sleep at the top of the house. So he said I could stay the night here, so I did.
Well, if you are very late in getting to bed, he may very well sleep until the afternoon.
Oh, dear. Well, couldn't you just call him?
Alas, no, we can never call him.
Good morning.
Good morning, miss.
Have you any idea what time Mr. Essendine will wake up?
Oh, might be any time. He didn't leave no note.
Well, couldn't you call him? It's nearly 11 o'clock.
The whole place will go up in smoke if we wake him by accident, let alone call him.
Well, could I have some breakfast, please?
Oh, certainly, miss. What do you fancy?
Coffee, please. And some orange juice.
Yes, miss.
Good morning.
Good morning. I'm Mr. Essendine's secretary. Is there anything I can do for you?
Well, I'm afraid it's rather awkward. You see, we were at a party and Mr. Essendine drove me home and I idiotically forgot my latchkey. And so he said I could stay here in the spare room.
I hope you were warm enough.
Oh, yes, quite. Thank you.
It's liable to be a bit nippy in the spare room.
I kept the heater on.
Very sensible.
And now I was wondering if someone could let Mr. Essendine know that I'm here.
I'm sure he will remember when he wakes up.
Do you have any idea of when that will be?
I'm afraid not. If he hasn't left a specific time to be called, he could sleep on indefinitely.
Well, I wouldn't want to go without saying goodbye and thanking him.
If I were you, I would get dressed, have some breakfast, and if he hasn't called by then, you can leave him a note. Have you asked for any breakfast?
Oh, well, yes, I think the man's bringing it.
Have you known Mr. Essendine long?
No, not really. I mean, I've known of him forever. I think he's wonderful, but we only met last night for the first time.
I see.
I think he's even more charming off the stage than on, don't you?
I can never quite make up my mind.
Have you been with him for a long while?
Just on 17 years.
Oh, I bet you know him better than anybody.
Less, intimately than some. Better than most.
Is he happy, do you think? I mean, really happy?
I don't believe I've ever asked him.
He has a sad look in his eyes every now and then.
You noticed that, did you?
Well, yes, we talked for hours last night. He told me all about his early struggle.
And did he happen to mention that life is passing him by?
Yes, I think he did say something like that.
Oh, dear.
Why?
I just wondered.
Oh, well, I hope you don't think it's awful of me spending the night. It does look rather bad, doesn't it?
Miss,
Oh, Stillington, Daphne Stillington.
Miss Stillington, it's hardly any of my business, is it?
Well, no, but I wouldn't want you to think that...
17 years is a long time, Miss Stillington. I gave up that kind of thinking in the spring of 1933.
Oh, I see.
Where will you have it? Here or in the bedroom?
Oh, here, please.
I think you would really be more comfortable in the bedroom. You see, the studio gets active around 11, the phone rings, people call, you know. I will let you know as soon as he wakes up.
Oh, thank you very much.
Is there any soap in that bathroom, Fred?
Oh, yes. But the tap's a bit funny. You have to go on turning it till kingdom come.
Did you tell her?
She'll find out for herself.
Were you here last night, Fred?
No, she's news to me.
Well, we'd better wake him.
Well, if the balloon goes up, don't blame me.
I don't suppose it's of any interest to any of you that I have been awakened from a deep, deep sleep by everyone screaming like banshees. What is going on?
I've been talking to Miss Stillington.
Who the hell is Miss Stillington?
She's in the spare room.
I asked you who she was, not where she was.
Well, maybe we could look her up in the telephone book.
She forgot a latchkey, if you know what I mean.
Go away, Fred, and get me some coffee.
Righty-o.
And don't say righty-o.
Very good, sir.
You were at a party, and you drove her home, and you invited her to spend the night.
Ah, yes, I remember now. She's marvelous. I'm mad about her. What did you say her name was again?
Stillington. Daphne Stillington.
I knew it was Daphne, but I hadn't the faintest idea it was Stillington. How did she look?
Restive.
I hope you were nice to her. Did anyone offer her anything to eat?
Yes, Fred brought her some orange juice and some coffee.
Oh, what's she doing now?
I don't know. Drinking it, I suppose.
It's awful, isn't it? What are we to do?
Well, she would like to say goodbye and to thank you.
Whatever for?
That, Gary dear, is something that you have a better idea of than I.
Well, why didn't you tell her to dress quietly like a little mouse and go home? You know, it's absolute agony here in the morning with everyone banging about.
Well, you might have thought of that before you asked her to stay the night.
She had to stay the night. She lost her latchkey.
The sooner we turn that spare room into a library, the better.
She's probably sobbing her heart out right now.
Why don't you go and see?
Lend me a comb and I will.
Here.
Oh, good God, I look 98.
Never mind.
Someday I'll be bald as a coot and then you'll be sorry.
On the contrary, I shall be delighted. There will be fewer young debutantes willing to lose their latchkeys for you when you have a toupee perched on your head, and everything will be a good deal simpler.
I shall never wear a toupee, Monica. Maybe a little front piece on the stage, but never a toupee. I intend to grow old with distinction.
Well, I am sure that will be a relief to all of us. Now, do go and do a nice goodbye scene. Morris will be here any moment, and we have to go through the mail.
No, I haven't done my exercises yet.
You can do those after she's gone.
I can't go into the spare room in my pajamas. There's like an icebox in there.
The heat is on. It's been on all night.
Very extravagant.
Gary!
Darling!
I thought I heard your voice.
Oh.
I'll be in the office if you need me.
Yes, Monica.
Oh, and don't forget, Morris will be here at 1 p.m. to go over the understudies that you're bringing to Africa.
I shall remember, Monica.
Oh, and you have an appointment at 12:30 with a Mr. Roland Mole.
Ah, thank you, Monica.
All right. Goodbye, Miss Stillington.
Goodbye. Gary! Oh,
Darling!
Gary!
Oh,
I'm ridiculously happy.
are you?
Yes, are you?
Yes, happy?
Yes.
Oh, there's something awfully sad about happiness, isn't there?
Well, but a funny thing to say.
Well, it wasn't meant to be funny.
I've been in love with you for such a long time.
Oh, don't say that, Daphne. Don't say that.
Why? What's the matter?
Well, don't love me too much, Daphne. You see, I'm not worthy of it, really. I'm not. No good will come of loving anyone like me. It will only upset you. I'm not worthy of it, really. I'm not.
You're more worthy of it than anybody in the whole world.
Poor dear child. Foolish child.
I'm not a child. I'm 24.
24? Well, if only I were younger, if only you were older.
Well, what does age matter when people love each other?
I wonder how tragically often that's been said.
It's true.
Look at me, Daphne. Look at me kindly, clearly, and honestly. Look at the lines on my face. Look at my eyes.
You're not so very old.
I didn't say I was so very old. I simply said, look at me. I'm only 45.
Well, what's 45?
Too old for 24.
Do you mean you don't love me?
I don't mean any such thing.
Do you love me? Say it. Do you?
Of course I do.
Say it.
I love you, Daphne.
Oh, Gary!
Oh, but this is goodbye.
Goodbye, but Gary!
It must be. It's inevitable, my sweet. You see, last night there was a spark. That was happiness. It burned brightly. Something to be remembered always.
Well, you're different this morning. You don't mean any of the things you said last night. I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, dear. My dear, you're not in love with me, the real me. You're in love with an illusion. The illusion I gave you when you saw me on the stage last night. I took the risk of ruining that dear, young, sweet illusion forever, but I didn't. It's still there. I can see it in your eye. You see, moments like last night, that's all I can hope for now. That's why I'm so lonely, so desperately lonely sometimes. But I have learned one bitter lesson in life, and that lesson is to know when to say goodbye.
Oh, but Gary,
Listen to me, my sweet. Let me go on. We meet, not as we parted. We feel more than all may see. My bosom is heavy-hearted, and thine full of doubt for me. One moment has bound the free.
Ooh,
that moment is gone forever, like lightning that flashed and died, like a snowflake upon the river, like a sunbeam upon the tide, which the dark shadows hide.
But Gary, I
Shh,
didn't...
but wait, there's more. That moment in life was singled as the first of a life of pain. The cup of its joy was mingled, delusion too sweet, though vain, too sweet to be mine again. There now, that was Shelley. Don't you think that was beautiful?
Well, yes, but...
There was nothing Shelley didn't know about love, all the heartache, all the joy, all the unbearable pain.
Yes, but I don't see why love should be so miserable.
That's because you're young, my sweet, young, eager, and greedy for life.
Oh, Gary!
No, please don't cry, I can't bear it.
How can you say that I'm only in love with an illusion and not the real you at all?
Because it's true.
It isn't. It was you last night. You weren't on stage. You weren't acting.
No, I'm always acting. Sometimes I enjoy watching myself go by. Sometimes I like to watch myself eating and drinking. And sometimes I like to see myself loving, sometimes suffering. Sometimes I see myself going mad. Mad!
Well, I could help you if you'd only let me.
Oh, listen, my dear, it isn't that I don't love you. I do.
Oh, Gary.
No, but listen, my sweet, I belong to my work. In 2 weeks' time, I'm going away to Africa with a repertoire of 6 plays. Do you have any idea what that means? All the work, all the drudgery, all the nerve strain. But listen, my sweet, when I come back, if I come back, I shall look at you again and I shall know whether you have waited for me or not. Now, come here, give me a kiss.
Oh,
just once, and then you must go.
Gary, oh, Gary.
Au revoir, my sweet. It's not goodbye, just au revoir.
Where do you want your coffee, here or upstairs?
Put the tray down anywhere within reason, Fred.
I would have brought it sooner, but I heard all the weeping and wailing going on, and I thought I'd better wait.
Put the tray down, Fred, and go away.
Why do you?
And what, never a moment of peace. Why is that telephone ringing in this room?
Here, we still have to go through the mail, and I can't go darting in and out of the office all the time.
And stop that annoying humming.
Hello? Hello? Yes, this is Mr. Essendine's secretary speaking. No, I'm afraid he's not available at the moment. No, he's very busy right now. Well, I think it would be better if you wrote. All right. Very well. Not at all. Thank you. Goodbye.
Fred said I was to go and speak to the young lady.
Well, very well, Miss Erickson.
Well, what should I say to her?
I don't really know.
I have been to the grocer's.
That's as good as an opening gambit as any.
Just make sure she has everything that she wants, Miss Erickson, and draw her a bath.
Oh, alas, that I cannot do. The tap, it makes no water.
Rise above the occasion and do the best you can, Miss Erickson.
I will try.
Preserve that spirit and cheerful optimism, Miss Erickson.
Well, there isn't very much this morning. We'll go through them quickly.
Coffee tastes of curry powder.
Never mind.
I wish I had a French chef and not a Scandinavian spiritualist.
You could never get rid of Miss Erickson. She worships you.
Everybody worships me, Monica. It's so nauseating.
There's hell to pay if they don't.
What's the blue letter?
It's from Sylvia Laurie. She absolutely must see you before you go.
Well, she can't.
Now, here's a postcard I can't make head or tail of.
It's from Brazil.
Yes, it says so on the stamp.
I've done what you said, and it's nearly finished. I can't read the signature. It looks like Pickett.
Can you remember somebody named Pickett that you sent to Brazil to finish something?
Not at all. Tear it up. People should write legibly or not at all.
Not at all would be lovely. Oh, is Miss Stillington nearly dressed? Miss?
Yes, but now she is crying, which makes her slow.
Crying?
You'd better go upstairs, Gary.
Tell Fred.
Tell Fred that Mr. Essendine would like his bath.
I will tell him. Fred!
You better come up as well. We can finish the rest of the letters up here.
There's just this one more. It's from Mrs. Lovett. She's having a coming-out dance for that pimply-looking daughter of hers.
What an awful thought. Polite refusal.
Hello? Hugo. Yes, well, he just went to have his bath. Yes, he's lunching at 5:30. We thought you weren't coming till the end of the week. Yes, I will tell him.
Is everybody in?
Yeah.
Good morning, Monica dear.
Oh, Liz, we didn't expect you until tonight.
I flew over by plane, loaded up with gifts like an Eastern potentate. Here's one for you.
Oh, how lovely.
It's a bottle of perfume and very expensive.
Thank you, Liz. You are a darling.
What's Scott up to?
In the bath.
I bought him a dressing gown.
How thoughtful of you. He only has 18.
Don't be acid, Monica. You know how he loves peacocking about in something new. It's nice and thin and highly suitable for Africa.
This looks wonderful, Liz. I'll open it when I get home.
Miss Erickson looked more peculiar than usual this morning. Is her spiritualism getting worse?
Well, she went to a séance on Sunday, and she got in touch with an old friend, and all he would say was, no, 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 and Christmas Day. It upset her very much.
I guess so. Hello, Fred. How's everything?
Oh, bit of a lash up as usual, miss.
Do you think I could get a cup of coffee? I feel a sinking.
Yes, miss.
It's awfully resolute of Fred to go on calling me Miss, isn't it?
Well, I think he has a sort of an idea that when you gave up being Gary's wife, you automatically reverted to maidenhood.
It's a very pretty thought.
Oh, I beg your pardon.
Oh, I'm so sorry about the bath, Miss Stillington.
It didn't matter a bit.
Oh, Miss Stillington, this is Mrs. Essendine.
Oh,
How do you do?
Mrs. Essendine. Gee, are you're Gary's wife?
Yes.
I thought he was divorced.
Oh, we never quite got around to it.
I see.
Oh, please, don't look so agitated. I upped and left him years ago.
Miss Stillington spent the night in the spare room. She lost her latchkey.
Oh, you poor dear. You must be absolutely congealed.
Do you think I could get a taxi?
I'll ring for one.
No, don't do that. My car's downstairs. It can take you wherever you need to go.
Oh, well, that's awfully kind of you.
Not at all. The chauffeur has bright red hair, and his name is Frobisher. You can't miss him.
Well, thank you very much. Are you sure it's not an inconvenience?
Not in the least. Just have him come straight back here after he's dropped you.
Oh, yes, of course, I will. Thank you. Goodbye.
Goodbye. I do hope you haven't caught a cold.
I don't think so. Goodbye.
I'll see you out.
No, please don't bother.
Oh, it's no bother.
There we are then. Can I get you something to go with it?
No, thank you, Fred. Just the coffee.
All right. I'll tell his nibs that you're here. I don't think he knows.
Thank you, Fred.
Well,
Has that been going on long, or is it new?
quite new. I found it wandering around in Gary's pajamas this morning.
Poor little thing. How awful for her to be faced with me like that. You ought to have pretended I was somebody else.
Well, it serves her right. I wouldn't mind so much if they'd only leave Gary alone. It makes the morning so complicated, Liz.
He's just incapable of saying no or goodbye.
Well, he says goodbye often enough. He just always seems to give the impression that he doesn't mean it.
I think I'll have a go at him. After all, I think it's high time he started to relax.
Well, if you think a big scene is necessary, we could get Hugo and Morris, and we could have a real rouser the night before he sails.
Oh, Morris has been awful hysterical lately, and Hugo's not nearly so reliable since he married Joanna.
Do you like her, Joanna?
She's a lovely creature, but tricky. Yes, I think I like her all right.
I don't.
You never would, darling. She's not your cup of tea at all.
Who isn't?
Joanna?
Oh, she's a bit predatory, perhaps, but then again, everyone is a bit predatory as far as I can see. She's yes, definitely. How are you, darling?
Good, darling.
Where's my present?
On the bench.
Oh, it's not another one of those damn glass horses, is it?
No, it's a dressing gown for Africa.
Oh, Liz! Don't anyone say anything important for the next 5 minutes. Liz, darling, it's beautiful. Look at it. It's everything I ever wanted. Say something, Monica.
I'm speechless.
Go away then, Monica. I need to talk to Gary before Morris gets here. It's important.
All right, but don't forget you have that appointment with Mr. Maule at 12:30.
Who's he?
You know exactly who he is. He's that young man who wrote that mad play half in verse that caught you on the telephone, and you were so busy being attractive and unspoiled by your great success that you gave him an appointment.
I most certainly did not. You must protect me from things like that, Monica.
Well, you must see him. He's coming all the way from Uckfield, and it serves you right for snatching the telephone when I wasn't looking.
You know, I've noticed a great change in you lately, Monica. I don't know whether it's because you stopped cramming yourself with potatoes or what, but you get nastier with each day that passes.
I'm going. I shall be in the office.
Of course you'll be in the office, inventing evil plots and intrigues against me.
If I can think of any.
Go away.
Liz,
Yes, darling.
do try to convince him to get some electric treatments on his hair. It's getting terribly thin.
And turn the damn telephone off while you're at it.
All right.
Liz, darling, hello.
Darling.
Good to see you. Tell me about your trip. How was
It
the
was
play?
wonderful.
That good?
Yes, very. There's a perfect part for you. We shall have to change it a bit, but the author's quite willing to let us do whatever we want as long as you play it.
Quite right.
Now then, I want to talk to you about something.
I don't like your tone, Liz. What's on your mind?
Who was that poor little creature I saw here this morning in evening dress?
I don't know what you're talking about.
I think all of this casual scampering about is rather ridiculous.
Scampering indeed. You have a genius for putting things unpleasantly.
Now then, be a darling. I mean it.
What do you mean?
Exactly this. Your behavior naturally affects all of us. Morris, Hugo, Monica, and me. You're responsible for us, and we're responsible for you. I think the time has come for you to look very carefully at yourself to see if you really need all of this buccaneering.
Buccaneering.
Just try not to be so devastatingly charming for a bit. Think what fun it would be to be unattractive for a moment moment or two. You might take to it like a duck to water.
Oh, Liz, you really are very sweet, aren't you?
Oh, dear, I might as well be speaking Chinese.
Well, I'll admit I'm a trifle reckless every now and then, but I don't do anyone any harm.
You do harm to yourself and to the very few who rarely mind about you.
And I suppose you've discussed all of this with Monica, Morris, and Hugo?
I haven't yet, but I will unless I see some sign of improvement.
Oh, blackmail, eh?
You know how you hate it when we all make a concerted pounce.
You know, what I find astonishing in life is everyone's arrogance. Oh, yes, look at all of you, laughing and carrying on, gossiping in corners, talking behind your fans, telling me what to do and what not to do. It's downright sauce, that's what it is. And what happens when I relax my loving hold on any of you for just a moment? Disaster. I go off to New York to play a 3-month season. Hugo immediately gets pneumonia, goes off to Biarritz to recover, meets Joanna, and marries her.
This is all rather beside the point, isn't it?
Absolutely not. 20 years ago, Hugo invested all of his money into that lousy little play, The Lost Cavalier, and who played it for 18 seasons to capacity with extra matinees. I did. And who made their entire career as a producer in that play after we brought him from New York, Morris.
I wish you would stop asking questions and answering them yourself. It's making me giddy.
Well, I'd like to know where we'd all be if I didn't. Where would Monica be if I hadn't snatched her away from that sinister old aunt of hers and given her a job?
With the sinister old aunt.
And where would you, oh, you, the most depressing, melancholy actress on the English stage, my dear, where would you be if I hadn't forced you to give up acting and start writing?
Acting?
Good God, I even had to marry you to do it.
Yes, and a fine gesture that turned out to be.
Oh, please. You adored me and you know it.
I still do, dear. It's so chivalrous how you keep pointing out how dependent we all are on you for every breath we take.
I didn't say that.
Well, you're just as dependent on us anyhow. We stop you from being extravagant and buying houses every 5 minutes. We stopped you in the nick of time from playing Peer Gynt.
I should maintain that I would have been magnificent as Peer Gynt.
And above all, we stop you from overacting.
You have now gone too far, Liz. I insist you go away somewhere immediately.
I've only just come back.
Oh, Monica, come here at once.
What on earth is the matter?
Have you or have you not ever seen me overact?
Frequently.
It's a conspiracy, I know it.
As a matter of fact, you're overacting now.
Well, it's just fine. I happen to be the breadwinner of the house. Fine, bully me and insult me and everyone. It doesn't matter that my timorous belief in myself is subtly undermined.
Your belief in yourself is about as timorous as Napoleon's.
And look how it turned out for him. He died forsaken, all alone on an awful little island surrounded by water.
Eyelids have that in common. Now listen, I need you to concentrate for a minute. It's about Morris.
How can I concentrate?
I'm very worried. I may need you to do some of your famous finger wagging. It's Joanna.
Joanna?
Morris is in love with her.
How do you know?
Everybody's talking about it. I don't know how far it's gone or any of the details, but I do know if it's true, it must be a stop must come to it at once.
Does Hugo suspect anything?
No, I don't think so, but he never would he? Unless it's shoved right under his nose.
He ought never to have married that stereotyped diamond-studded siren. I always told him it was a grave mistake.
I don't know if she's as stereotyped as all that, but she's dangerous, all right.
Oh, it's all so tiresome, Liz. It'll upset all my plans. It could ruin everything for Africa.
It could bust up everything if Hugo finds out.
This could ruin everything, Liz. What are we to do? Oh, and there's that beastly young man from Uckfield. I can't face him. Look at me. I'm trembling like a leaf. I can't face him. I can't.
You must if you promised.
Oh, my life is one long torment, and nobody even remotely cares.
Well, it might not be the young man at all. It could be Morris.
Oh, to hell with Morris. To hell with everybody.
Don't be idiotic. I shall be in my office till 1:15. Call me when he's gone.
I can't. He's lunching with me. I can't give you a detailed description of his love life over the telephone.
Well, dial my number. And when I've answered, say, sorry, wrong number. Then I shall know.
What will you know?
That everything's all right. But if you should say, I'm so terribly sorry it's the wrong number, then I shall know that everything's all wrong and be round in a flash to back you up.
Oh, intrigue. My whole existence is enmeshed in intrigue.
Do you have that all right?
Yes, all right.
You promise to do it?
Yes.
I'll be waiting for your call.
Oh, would you like to know another thing about my life, if you care to hear it? No one in this house answers a bell in under a half an hour. Miss Erickson, Fred! Miss Erickson, that front bell has been ringing incessantly for 20 minutes.
Alas, Chess, but there's a woman at the back door with a tiny...
What does she want?
I do not know. There was no time to ask her.
I suppose all the silver is gone by now.
Did you call?
Monica, there is a woman at the back door with a tiny baby. Go and deal with her.
What does she want?
How should I know? One can only find out by going and asking her. Kindly do so.
Well, there's no need to snap at me.
Mr. Mole.
Mr. Mole, how do you do?
How do you do?
This is my wife, Mr. Mole. She's just popping in for a moment. She's about to pop out again.
How do you do?
How do you do? Oh! I know you have an appointment with Gary, and I wouldn't dream of interrupting, so I'll say goodbye now.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. I'll be by the phone waiting. Goodbye, darling.
Mr. Mole, sit down, won't you?
Thank you.
Cigarette?
No, thank you.
Don't you smoke?
No.
Drink?
No, thank you.
How old are you?
25. Why?
Doesn't matter. I was just curious.
How old are you?
45 in December. Jupiter, you know, very energetic.
Yes, of course.
So you came all the way from Uckfield.
Oh, it isn't very far.
Well, it sort of sounds far, doesn't it?
Well, it's a sweet little thing, but it seems far from well.
What does she want?
Her sister.
We haven't got her, have we?
No, she's up the street at the Mews. It was all a mistake.
Mr. Mole, I must introduce you to my secretary, Miss Reed.
How do you do?
How do you do? Oh! There's your script, Mr. Mole.
Thank you.
Mr. Mole, sit down. I'd like to talk to you about your play.
I expect you hated it.
Well, to be honest, it was a little uneven.
I thought you'd say that.
Glad I'm running so true to form.
Well, I mean, it really isn't the sort of thing you would like, is it?
Well, in that case, why on earth did you send it to me?
I just took a chance. I mean, I know you only play rather trashy stuff as a rule, and I thought you just might like to have a shot at something deeper.
Mr. Mole, what on earth in your play is deeper other than the plot, which is submerged in the first 4 pages?
Plots aren't important, it's ideas that matter. Look at Chekhov.
I think we can both agree that Chekhov is a certain flimsy sort of psychology, don't you?
You mean my play isn't psychologically accurate?
Well, it isn't very good, really, it isn't.
I think it's very good indeed.
Well, that's understandable, but I think that we can agree that my opinion is of utmost importance based on my lifelong experience in the theater.
The commercial theater.
Oh, dear.
I suppose you'll say that Shakespeare wrote for the commercial theater and that the only point to doing anything with a drama at all is to make money. All those old arguments. What you don't realize is that the theater of the future is the theater of ideas.
Well, I think we can agree that I'm involved in the theater of the present at the moment.
And what do you do with it? Every play you appear in is exactly the same. Superficial, frivolous, and without the slightest intellectual significance. You have a great following and a strong personality, and all you do is prostitute yourself every night of your life. All you do with your talent is to wear dressing gowns and make witty remarks when you might really be helping people, making them think, making them feel.
There can be no two opinions about it. I'm having the most discouraging morning.
If you want to live in people's memories, if you want to go down to posterity as an important man, you'd better do something about it. Quickly. There isn't a moment to be lost.
I don't give a hoot about posterity. Why should I worry about what people think of me when I'm dead as a doornail anyways? If anything, my worst defect is that I worry too much about what people think about me while I'm alive. But I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm changing my methods. And you are my first experiment. Sit down, Mr. Mole. To begin with, your play is not a play at all. It's a meaningless jumble of adolescent, pseudo-intellectual poppycock. And you, well, the play doesn't even resemble life or the theater or really anything at all. And you wouldn't even be here if I hadn't been a bloody fool to answer the telephone when my secretary wasn't looking. But now that you are, let me explain something to you. If you wish to be a playwright, I suggest you leave the theater of the future to itself. Go and get yourself a job as a butler at a repertoire company, if they'll have you. Then learn how a play is constructed from the ground up. Learn what is actable and what isn't. Learn and then sit down and write 20 plays, one after the other. And then on the 21st, if you're lucky enough to get it produced for a Sunday night performance, you'll be damn lucky.
I'd no idea you were like this. You're wonderful.
Oh, my God.
I'm awfully sorry if you think I was impertinent before, but I'm awfully glad too, because if I hadn't been, you wouldn't have got angry, and if you hadn't got angry, I shouldn't have known what you were really like.
No, you don't know the least what I'm really like.
Oh, yes, I do. Now,
I can't see that it matters anyways.
it matters to me.
What matters to you?
Do you really want to know?
What are you talking about?
It's rather difficult to explain, really.
What's difficult to explain?
What I feel about you.
Now you look here, young man.
Please, let me speak. You see, in a way, I've been rather unhappy about you for quite a long time. You've been a sort of obsession with me. I went to see you in your last play 47 times. One week I came every night because I was up in town trying to pass an exam.
Did you pass it?
No, I didn't.
Not entirely surprised.
My father wants me to be a lawyer. That's what the exam was for. But actually, I've been studying psychology a great deal because I felt somehow I wasn't at peace with myself. And gradually, bit by bit, I began to realize that you signified something to me.
What sort of something?
Oh, I don't quite know. Not yet.
Not yet was the most sinister thing I've ever heard in my life.
Don't laugh at me, please. I'm always sick if anyone laughs at me.
You really are a peculiar young man.
Can I come and see you again?
Oh, no, I'm going to Africa.
Would you see me if I came to Africa too?
Oh, no, I think you'd be much happier in Uckfield.
I expect you think I'm mad, but I'm not really. I just mind deeply about certain things. But I feel much better now because I think I shall be able to sublimate you all right.
Good. Now I must ask you to leave because, you see, my manager is coming over and we have business to discuss.
It's all right. I'm going immediately.
No, don't forget your play.
No. Tear it up. You were quite right about it. It was only written with part of myself. I see that now. Goodbye.
Oh, goodbye.
Goodbye.
Is he gone?
Yes, if that young man calls up again, get rid of him at all costs. He's mad as a hatter.
Why, what did he do?
He started by sublimating me, and started by insulting me, and finished by sublimating me.
No, you poor dear. You do look shattered. Have a glass of sherry.
Those are the first kind words I've heard all morning.
I think I'll have a nip too.
What time is it?
20 to 1. That must be Morris. Here you go, dear.
Too late.
Hello, Monica. Hello, Monica.
Hello.
There is a strange young man sitting on the stairs.
Why? What's he doing?
Oh, he's crying.
What have you been up to, Gary?
I simply told him what I thought about his play.
I'm so glad to see you haven't lost your touch, Gary.
Sherry, Morris?
Thanks.
Hugo?
Is it the same sherry that you always have?
Yes.
No, thank you.
Why? What's the matter with it?
Nothing much. It's just not very nice.
You know, Hugo, you ought never to have joined the Athenaeum Club. It's made you pompous.
Hugo's quite right about the sherry. It's disgusting.
If anyone complains about anything else this morning, I shall go raving mad. This studio's been a wailing wall all morning.
What's the matter with the old boy, Monica? He seems remarkably crotchety.
Well, Liz was here. She had to go at him. And then I told him that he overacted. He really has had a beastly time of it. And then that dotty young man from Uckfield.
Oh, never mind, Gary. God's in his heaven and all's right with the world. I've got some lovely bad news for you.
What?
Nora Fenwick can't come to Africa.
Why?
She's broken her leg.
Oh, really?
It isn't actually so terribly important.
Oh, no, not at all. Just 6 plays, weeks of rehearsal. How did the silly bitch do it?
She fell down at Victoria Station.
She had no right to be at Victoria Station. Who can we get to replace her?
Well, Morris wants Beryl Willard. But I don't think she's quite right.
Oh, so you want Beryl Willard, do you?
Why not? She's extremely competent.
Oh, I agree. Beryl Willard is extremely competent. Beryl Willard has been extremely competent for over 40 years. Beryl Willard has sustained an uncanny reputation for being an epic-making, paralyzing, world-shattering, god-awful bore that ever drew breath.
Really, Gary, I don't see what the
Oh,
problem
really?
is.
You don't see? Well, let me explain this. No threat, no prayer, no power, human or divine, would induce me to go to Africa with Beryl Willard. I wouldn't go as far as Wimbledon with Beryl Willard.
What he's trying to say is he doesn't care for Beryl Willard.
All right, she's out. Whom do you suggest?
Just a minute. If the two of you are going to start one of your casting arguments, I'm going. I have a plane to catch to Brussels.
Now, what are you going to Brussels for now, anyhow?
Business. Nice, straightforward, ordinary business. Nothing to do with theater. I can't wait to get there. Goodbye, sweetie. And try to be a little more amiable when I get back. Goodbye, Morris. By the way, Joanna is going to be all alone. You might want to ring her up.
I have. I'm taking her to the opening at the Haymarket tomorrow night.
Brilliant. Goodbye, Monica.
Goodbye. Do you want me anymore?
Why? What are you going to do?
I'm going to go right to Beryl Willard and ask her to come and live with you.
So, you're taking Joanna to the Haymarket tomorrow night, are you?
Yes, why?
I think I shall come too.
Oh, that'll be grand. I've got a box and there's lots of room.
Why are you so mournful lately?
I'm not the least bit mournful. I'm perfectly happy.
Yes, you are. Liz has noticed, and so have I.
Well, you're both quite wrong.
Do you like Joanna?
Of course I do. She's a darling.
Oh, well, I wouldn't go as far as saying she's a darling. But then again, I don't see much of her. I take it you do.
What are you getting at?
People are talking, Morris.
What about?
About you and Joanna.
Oh, rubbish.
Are you in love with Joanna?
In love with Joanna? Of course not.
Are you having an affair with Joanna?
I'll be damned if I'll be cross-questioned like this.
Are you or aren't you?
Mind your own business.
My God, if this isn't my business, I don't know what is. If you're fooling around with Joanna and Hugo finds out, do you have any idea what this will mean?
I refuse to go on with this type of questioning.
You can refuse until you're blue in the face. You're going to listen to me, Morris.
Leave me alone.
Sit down, Morris. This is serious.
I'll be damned if I'll submit myself to one of your finger-wagging tirades. I've had enough of them.
Fine. I'm not going to ask you one more question. I'm not even going to bellow at you much. I am, however, going to make you see one thing clearly, and that all depends on how much you annoy me or not. That one thing is this. You and Hugo and Monica and Liz and I have something of immeasurable importance. And that something is a mutual trust and loyalty. God knows it was hard won. I mean, we spent years and years in a bitter conflict with ourselves and each other. But now that we're all middle-aged, we can agree that it was all well worth it. Now that we're all, look at us, woven together through mutual trust and friendship and an intellectual knowledge of each other's work. Far too much a setup to risk for any outside emotional experience, Morris. Joanna is alien to us. She doesn't belong to us and never could. Hugo never tried to force her on us to do that to him justice. But don't believe for a moment that Joanna isn't dangerous, because she is. She's 100% female, exceedingly attractive, and ruthlessly implacable in her pursuit to gain anything she wants. If she could wreak havoc amongst any of us, I'm quite sure she'd leave no stone unturned. She's a scalp hunter if ever I've seen one. But all I implore you is this. Be careful.
Listen.
No, you don't even need to answer me back. Just be careful. Is that clear?
Perfectly. I think I'll have a little more sherry.
Ooh, I think I'll join you. After all, it's tasty. Could we ring up the restaurant? I forgot to make a reservation.
Oh, don't bother. We could just go upstairs.
Upstairs smells of potted shrimps. It'll only take a moment. Hello. Oh, I'm sorry. It's the wrong number.
Very pretty indeed.
Oh, you're looking awfully dressy tonight. Where are you off to?
Degani's.
Oh, is that a dance hall, nightclub, or what?
Bit of all sorts, really. Doris works there.
Oh, what does she do?
Oh, she sings a couple of numbers, does a dance with a skipping rope.
Oh, very interesting.
It's a bit wet if you ask me, but still seems to go down all right.
Are you going to marry Doris?
Oh, me marry? What a hope.
You know, you certainly are dreadfully immoral, Fred.
That's right.
I happen to know that you've been taking advantage of Doris for over 2 years now.
Why not? She likes it, I like it, and a good time's had by all.
What will she do when we go away to Africa?
Oh, she'll manage. She's already got a couple of blokes running after her now.
Oh, I see. She's communal.
Will you ring in the morning as usual, sir, or do you want to be called?
I'll ring. Has Miss Erickson gone?
Oh, yes, she left early. She had to come over about 6 p.m. and opted. She went over to a friend in Hammersmith. That's where they turn down the lights and they listen to the gramophone and they speak to a medium.
Well, I guess if it brings her happiness, that's all that matters, right?
Well, she's a good worker, even though she is a bit scatty. But then again, you can't have it all, can you?
No, Fred, you can't.
Will that be all?
Yes, Fred, that's all. Thank you. Good night.
Good night, sir. Be good.
Hello, who's speaking, please? Oh, Liz, darling. Yes, I've been home about half an hour now. Yes, alone. I'm turning over a new leaf, hadn't you heard? Yes, we went to the play last night, and we went to supper at the Savoy, then Morris and I took her home. No, I didn't go on about it anymore. I thought it wiser not to. Well, I must admit, she is very charming and very intellectual and permanent pleasure to the eyes. Yes, dear. All right. I'm going to bed now, alone. Good night, Liz. Darling. Oh! Joanna?
I can't tell you how relieved I am that you're in. I've done the most idiotic thing.
Why? What's happened?
I've lost my latchkey.
Oh, Joanna.
It's no use looking at me like that. I'm not in the least inefficient. As a rule, this is the first time I've ever done such a thing in my life. I'm in an absolute fury. I had to dress in the most awful rush to dine with Frida and to get to the Toscanini concert, and I left it in my other bag.
Oh, and I suppose the servants sleep at the top of the house?
They do more than sleep. They apparently go off into a coma. I've been battering on the door for nearly a half hour.
Would you like a drink?
Oh, very much indeed. I'm exhausted.
Well, we should decide what is best to do.
the telephone booth just now and I tried to ring up Liz, but she must have gone out because there wasn't any reply.
You rang up Liz and there wasn't any reply.
Yes. And I hadn't any more change, and the taxi man hadn't either. I came straight here. You're looking very whimsical. Don't you believe me?
Of course I do. Why shouldn't I?
I don't know. You always look as though you didn't trust me an inch. It's a shame, because I'm so nice, really.
I'm sure you are, Joanna.
I know that voice, Gary. You've used it in every play you've ever been in.
Complete naturalness on the stage is my strong suit.
You've never really liked me, have you?
No, not particularly.
I wonder why.
Oh, I don't know. I always found you a bit tiresome.
In what way tiresome?
I don't know, maybe a little too much arrogance, a little too sure of oneself.
You don't care for competition, I see.
No, I find you lovely looking, of course.
Thank you.
A little too aware, maybe.
You're being conventionally odious. But somehow it doesn't quite ring true. But then again, you never do quite ring true, do you? I expect it's because you're an actor. They are always apt to be a little papier-mâché.
Just puppets, Joanna dear. Creatures of tinsel and sawdust, but how clever of you to have noticed.
I wish you'd stop being suave, just for a minute.
What would you like me to do? Fly off into a tantrum, burst into tears?
I think I should like you to be kind.
Kind?
Yes, at least kind enough to make an effort to overcome your perfectly obvious prejudice against me.
I'm sorry it's so obvious.
Not quite an idiot, although I must say, you have always treated me as though I were. I know you resented me marrying Hugo. You all did. And I entirely see why you should have. Anyhow, at first. But after all, that's 5 years ago now. And during that time, I've done my very best not to obtrude myself, not to encroach on any special preserves. My reward has been rather meager. Particularly from you, nothing but artificial politeness and slightly frigid tolerance.
Poor Joanna.
I see my appeal has fallen on stony ground. I think I should like you to call me a taxi.
Nonsense. You'd hate nothing more. You came here with a purpose, didn't you?
Of course I did. I lost my latchkey. I knew you had a spare room, and
Well?
I wanted to get to know you a little better.
I see.
Oh, no, you don't. I know perfectly well what you think. Of course, I can't altogether blame you. In your position as one of the world's most famous romantic comedians, it's only natural that you should imagine every woman is anxious to hurl herself at your head. I'm sure, for instance, you don't believe me for a second that I've lost my latchkey.
You're good, Joanna. My God, you're good.
What's the number for the taxi rank? I'll ring up myself.
Sloan, 2664.
Hello? Hello? Is this Sloan 2664? Oh, it's the wrong number. The line's engaged. Oh, what are you laughing at?
You, Joanna.
Oh, you're enjoying yourself enormously, aren't you?
You win, Joanna.
Give me that telephone and don't be so infuriating.
Have another drink?
No, thank you.
Please, I'm sorry.
I wish you were really sorry.
Maybe I am.
I could cry now, you know. Very effectively. If only I had the technique.
Technique is very important.
Oh, dear.
Well, conversation seems to have come to a standstill.
I think perhaps I would like another drink, a very small one.
Good soupçon.
You make me feel extraordinarily self-conscious. Of course, it's one of your most renowned gifts, isn't it? Frightening people.
You're not going to pretend that I frighten you.
It's personality, I expect. You look strangely young every now and then. It would be nice to know what you're really like under all the trappings.
Just a simple boy stinking with idealism.
Sentimental, too. Are you happy on the whole?
Ecstatically.
You never get tired of fixing people's lives, of being the boss, of everyone adoring you and obeying you?
Not at all. I revel in it.
I suspected you did, but I wasn't sure.
Well, what are we to do now?
Do? Is there any necessity to do anything?
No, I don't know. My social instincts tells me something is expected of me, but I'm not quite sure what.
You must be rather shattering for the young and inexperienced. You glitter so brightly, all the little bells tinkling.
I sound like a circus horse.
Oh, you are rather like a circus horse, as a matter of fact. You prance into the ring to be admired, jumping with such assurance through all the paper hoops.
All right, Joanna. What do you want? All this provocative squirmishing is getting me down. What do you want?
I want you to be what I believe you really are. Friendly and genuine. Someone to be trusted. I want you to do me the honor of stopping this eternal performance of yours, ring down the curtain, take off your makeup, and relax.
Everyone's always telling me to relax.
One can hardly blame them.
Shouldn't I be vulnerable, dear Delilah? Shorn of my nice silky hair?
And why are you so afraid of being vulnerable? I would think it would be rather a relief. To be perpetually on one's guard must be terribly tiring.
I was right about you from the first.
Were you?
You're predatory as hell.
Gary.
Oh, you got the wretched Hugo when he was convalescent. You made a dead set at Morris, and now, by God, you're after me. Don't deny it, I can see it in your eye. You show up in the middle of the night, reeking with the lust of conquest. Don't deny it, the whole atmosphere's quivering with it. You had your hair done this afternoon, didn't you? Probably your fingers and your toes as well. That's a new dress you're wearing. Those are new shoes, and those stockings you've probably never worn before in your life. And your mind, even more expertly groomed to vanquish than your body. You want to know what I'm really like, Joanna? Do you? Underneath all this glittering veneer? Fundamentally honest. When I'm chased into a corner, I come out telling the truth. And the truth is, I know what you're up to, Joanna. I can see through every trick. Now go away and leave me alone.
Curtain. You know, you really are the reason I married Hugo.
My God, are there no depths of which you won't descend?
Absolutely none. I'm in love with you. I've been in love with you for over 7 years now. It's high time something was done about it.
This is the end.
No, my sweet, only the beginning.
Now listen to me, Joanna.
No, I think you better listen to me first.
I'll do no such thing.
You must. It's terribly important to all of us. Please, sit down.
No, I think I'd like to walk about, if you don't mind.
Oh, sit down, dear sweet Gary, please. Sit down. I've got to explain, and I can't if you're whirling about all the time.
This is dreadful.
First of all, I want you to promise to answer one question absolutely truthfully. Will you?
What is it?
If you had never seen me before in your life, if we had met for the first time tonight, if I were in no way concerned with anyone that you know, would you have made love to me? Would you have wanted me?
Well, yes.
Well, there's that.
Oh, now listen,
then,
Joanna.
Shut up. You must be fair. You must let me explain. When I said just now that you were the reason I married Hugo, that was only partially true. I'm devoted to Hugo, much fonder of him, really, than he is of me. Hugo has been lightly unfaithful to me 11 times, to my certain knowledge, during the last 3 years. He's probably having a high old time in Brussels at this very minute.
You're lying, Joanna.
I'm not lying. I don't mind enough to lie. Hugo's a dear, and I wouldn't leave him for anything in the world. But you're the one I'm in love with, and always have been.
What about Morris? Is Morris in love with you? Has there ever been anything between you two?
Of course there hasn't.
Do you swear to that?
Oh, there's no need for me to swear it. You can see, can't you? I don't want to live with you. God forbid. You'd drive me mad within a week. But you are, to me, the most charming, infuriating, passionately attractive man I've ever known. Who could you and I possibly harm by loving one another for a while?
Please, may I get up now?
Yes.
So, how was the Toscanini concert?
Glorious. He played the 8th and the 7th.
Personally, I prefer the 5th.
I like the 9th most of all.
Nothing like the dear old 9th.
I love Covent Garden. It's so uncompromising.
Personally, I prefer the Albert Hall.
I wonder why. I always find it depressing.
Not when they play Hiawatha, Shirley.
Even then.
I'll not have one word about the Albert Hall.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Is Mr. Essendine awake yet?
He has not rung.
I wonder if you'd be so kind as to tell him that I am awake.
Alas, I cannot do that. He would be crazy with anger.
Would he indeed? Well, I shall be crazy with anger myself unless I get some breakfast. I've been ringing that bell in there for hours.
It does not work.
Oddly enough, that dawned on me after a while.
It is the mice. They are very destructive. They are always chewing through the wires.
Good morning.
Good morning, miss. Oh, dear.
I beg your pardon.
You're Mrs. Lapierre, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
Blimey.
I gather that was Mr. Essendine's valet. Does he always behave like that?
He was a steward on a very large ship.
Most ship stewards I've met have had good manners.
He is the only one I know.
Would you get me some China tea, some thin toast without butter, and a soft-boiled egg, please?
Well, we have no tea and no eggs either, but I will make the toast with pleasure.
Is there any coffee?
Yes, we have coffee.
Oh, well, kindly get me some as quickly as you can.
I will tell Fred.
And as he was on such a large ship, perhaps there's something he could do with the faucet in that bathroom.
Alas, he was not a bathroom steward.
Joanna,
Oh, good morning, Monica.
Joanna!
Thank heavens you've come. I've had the most complicated chat with the housekeeper.
Did you spend the night here?
Yes. Wasn't it sweet of Gary to let me? I did the most idiotic thing. I lost my latchkey.
You lost your latchkey.
I was in an awful state, and I suddenly thought of Gary.
You suddenly thought of Gary.
Why do you keep repeating everything I say?
I don't know. It's easier than saying anything else.
Oh, why, Monica, you actually look as though you disapprove of my staying the night here.
It was tactless, to say the least.
Good heavens, why? It was a perfectly natural thing to do under the circumstances.
When is Hugo coming home?
Tomorrow morning on the 11 o'clock plane. Is there anything else you'd like to know?
No, I don't think I want to know anything else at all.
I must say, Monica, I really do resent your manner a little bit. Anyone would think that I'd done something awful.
Well, you're in a better position to know that than I.
It's quite astounding to think that someone who's been as close to Gary as you have been for so many years should have a lewd mind.
I'm sure you're shocked to the marrow.
I really don't feel quite equal to continuing this rather strained conversation before I've had some coffee. Perhaps you could hurry it up for me?
I always knew it.
Always knew what?
That you'd cause trouble. I'll see about your coffee. Oh, there's the door. Go back into the spare room quickly.
Oh, I'm quite happy here, thank you.
As you please. Joanna is here.
What? Good morning, Joanna.
Liz!
This is a surprise.
I tried to get you for hours last night. I'd lost my latchkey and was in an absolute despair. But you weren't in.
I was in from 10 o'clock onwards. Perhaps you were ringing the wrong number.
I rang the number you gave me.
Well, then, maybe I gave you the wrong number.
Now I'll be in the office if you want me.
I do want you, Monica, so don't budge.
Oh, breakfast.
Where will you have it?
Here, please.
I think Mrs. Lippiat would be more comfortable having her breakfast in the spare room.
I'd rather have it here if you don't mind. I like to see what's going on.
Put it down here for a moment, Fred, and we shall decide later where Mrs. Lippiat will have her coffee.
I've already decided, Liz, but it's sweet of you to take so much trouble.
That'll be all then, Fred. Thank you.
Rightio. Give us a call if you need anything.
I will then. I don't suppose Gary's been called yet, has he?
No. Should I go and wake him?
No, not yet.
Oh, he really should be wakened at once, Liz. It's disgraceful, lying in bed on a morning like this, so unhealthy. He'll be getting fat and flabby if he's not too careful.
I wish to God he would.
I wonder what she put in the coffee, apart from the coffee, that is.
We'd kill her if she had any sense to her.
You're really being remarkably offensive, Monica. One always hears that the secretaries of famous men are rather frustrated and dragon-like.
Oh, the only thing frustrating me at the moment is a wholesome fear of the gallows. Oh.
Poor thing. I suppose she's mad about Gary, like all of us.
Like all of us, Joanna.
I must say, he really is enchanting. We had the most lovely talk last night.
I don't think that Hugo or Morris would like to know that you spent the night here, Joanna.
Good heavens, why? Hugo wouldn't mind a bit.
I wouldn't be too sure about that if I were you. Anyhow, Morris would.
Morris? What on earth does Morris have to do with it?
Now listen, we don't have time to waste fencing with one another. I know perfectly well that you have been unfaithful to Hugo with Morris, so you needn't trouble yourself to deny it any further.
It's the most abominable lie.
Unfortunately, I dined quietly last night with Morris at the Ivy. He got very upset and became rather hysterical, as you know he sometimes does, and he told me everything.
How dare he discuss me with you or with anybody?
I don't think Gary should like to know that you had been Morris's mistress as well as Hugo's wife. And I don't think that Morris would like to know that you had been Gary's mistress, which I suspect you have.
What are you talking about?
And I don't think Hugo would like to know anything about any of it.
Are you trying to blackmail me?
Yes, I am.
Are you saying you'd be so low as to tell Gary?
Yes, and Morris and Hugo. I will tell them all unless you do as I say.
I suppose you're still in love with him yourself.
Not in the least. But that is beside the point. I certainly love him. I love Morris and Hugo too. We have been all devoted to one another for many years, and I won't risk you upsetting it even temporarily. You are going to do as I say.
And what if I don't?
Then you'll be out, my dear, with all of us, forever. Gary most of all.
You're very sure.
Absolutely positive. I know Gary very well, you know. After all, I've had every opportunity.
It's a pity you ever left him.
For him, yes, I think it is.
And why do you suppose that I should mind so terribly being out with all of you, as you put it?
Because you tried so terribly hard to get in, and you would have had better results, and more quickly, too, if you hadn't been so determined to be alluring.
I have never been talked to like this in my life.
Well, make the most of it. I want you to promise not to see Gary before he goes away.
Well, really?
Do you promise?
No, certainly not. It's absurd. I'm bound to see him. How can I avoid it?
You can be ill. You can go to Paris, anywhere.
Oh, I have no intention of doing any such thing.
Very well. Fred! Fred!
It will be you who's breaking everything up, not me.
Did you call, miss?
Yes, go and wake up Mr. Gary immediately. Oh, wait, Fred. You'd better answer the door first. It's
Right
Morris.
away, miss. Right away, miss.
Morris? How do you know?
He told me he was coming to meet with Gary at 11 today.
Now look here, Liz.
I'm glad, really. This will be much more convenient.
I can't see him. It will be too unpleasant. I'll do what you say.
You swear? You swear you will not see Gary before he goes away? You'll go away?
Yes, I swear it.
Quickly, into the spare room, and don't come out until I tell you.
It's Mr. Mole. He says he has an appointment.
Mr. What?
Mole. He looks a bit wet to me.
Oh, dear. I'll have Miss Reed deal with him. You had better let him in.
Rightio, miss.
Monica! Monica!
Yes, what is it?
Mr. Mole is here.
Well, he has no right to be. He's raving mad.
Mr. Mole.
How do you do? We met before. Do you remember?
Yes, just the other day.
Have you an appointment with Miss Essendine?
Oh, yes, indeed. I spoke to him on the telephone last night. He told me I was to come at 10:30. I fear I'm a little late.
I'm afraid he can't see you at the moment. Can you come back later?
Isn't there anywhere I could wait?
I suppose you could wait in the office and I can find out when he can see you.
It's very kind of you. Thanks very much.
Not at all.
Oughtn't I to let him in?
No, I don't know, Fred. He says he has an appointment with Mr. Gary, but I can hardly believe that's true. We'd better go wake him.
No, not yet. I'd rather Gary slept on a little bit.
We'll wake him later, Fred.
It's all the same to me.
Listen, Monica, I've guaranteed that you or I will not say anything about her staying night here to Hugo or Morris or anyone, as long as she swears not to see Gary before he goes away.
And did she?
Yes, but it's going to be awkward. Morris is going to be here any minute. Is there still a telephone in the spare room?
Yes.
Is it the same number or different?
It's the private line.
What's the number?
Oh, you know it is the private line. Sloan 2462.
Oh, there he is. I'll take care of everything. I'll explain later.
Oh, Mr. Moore, what are you doing?
Gary! No! Don't ever do that again as long as you live.
Where are you going?
Out.
Out where?
I don't know. I suppose I can go out, can't I?
No, you was up. You're a dark horse, and that's no mistake.
Don't be impertinent, Fred, and go away.
All right, all right. The gent's in the office, and the lady's in the spare room, if you happen to want either of them.
Lady? What lady?
I don't know what you're talking about. The poor boy's office rocker.
Really, Gary? You're impossible. Who's in there?
I wish everyone would mind their own damn business, is what I wish.
Well, for heaven's sake, get rid of her, whoever she is. I'm in a bad way.
What about?
Just get rid of her.
Well, how can I get rid of her? She might be in the bar.
Well, tell her to hurry then.
Now listen to me, Morris.
Well, if you won't, I
no,
will.
Morris, I forbid you to go near that room!
Come out of there as soon as you can. Liz, it's you.
Liz, it's you?
Of course it's me. Who did you think it was?
Yes, who did you think it was?
What are you making such a fuss about, Gary?
I make a fuss? I don't know what you mean.
How are you so completely dressed so suddenly? You were just asleep a minute ago.
No, I most certainly was not. I gravely doubt I'll ever sleep again the rest of my life.
Perhaps your conscience was troubling you.
Oh, I cannot figure out for the life of me why everyone's so beastly to me to be done with a lot of you.
It shall not be exactly unrelieved sadness for the rest of us.
No
Oh,
sarcasm,
Gustavo.
please.
Would you two stop bickering? I'm in the most awful state.
What about?
Liz knows. I told her last night.
What does Liz know? What did you tell her last night?
Pull yourself together. Have a drink or something. Try not to be silly.
I don't want to drink. If I have a drink, it'll make it much worse. It always does.
Well, this is a most fascinating conversation. I assure you I would appreciate the flavor just a tad bit more if I had an inkling of what it was all about.
I haven't slept in 3 nights, Gary.
Why?
Ever since you talked to me the other morning.
Why?
I'm having one of my awful obsessions. You know how I get when I have my obsessions. God knows you've helped me through enough of them. But this time I've made a damn fool of myself and lied to you in the bargain.
Lied to me? What about?
Joanna and I are in love.
Oh, dear.
It's been going on for several months, Gary. And we told each other we'd lie about it so we wouldn't ruin anything. But I've never lied to you before. And last night I just had to tell you, and I told Joanna, and she was furious. She said that she would never speak to me again, and she went missing. And I talked to the servants, and they don't know where she is. And I'm just afraid something's happened to her.
Perhaps it has.
You don't like her, Liz. You never have. I'm not really sure I do either, but I love her!
It's all right, Morris. You needn't fuss any further. Joanna spent the night with me last night.
Spent the night with you?
Yes, on the sofa. She lost her latchkey.
No.
Yes, and I told her if I saw you, I would ring her up to see if she's still there.
I'm going now.
No,
Oh, no,
let
no,
me
no,
get
no,
the
no.
number for you. Let's make sure she's still there. Hello, Maggie. Is Mrs. Lippiot still there? Oh, good. Thank you. Morris?
Hello? Hello, Joanna? Yes, it's me, Morris.
You unutterable fool.
Why did you tell me you were with Liz?
How did you get her out?
She's not out. She's in there on the other line.
Joanna, I was so worried about you. Yes, I'm at the studio. With Liz and Gary. I have. I had to. Oh, Joanna, don't be cruel. Joanna! I need to see you, Joanna! She's hung up.
Huh, serves you right.
I must see her, I must see her!
No,
What
no,
am
no.
I to do?
No, just calm down and don't be
I'm going to
hysterical.
her flat now.
Oh, no,
No,
you're not. No, you're coming with me.
With you where?
I don't know, to Westminster Abbey.
Oh, it's no use being funny at a time like this.
I wasn't trying to be funny. What's the matter with Westminster Abbey? It's historic. Oh, what do you want?
Did you or did you not give an appointment to Mr. Mole this morning?
I most emphatically did not. He terrifies the life out of me.
Well, he is here.
I'm afraid I told a wicked lie about the appointment, but I must see you. It's very, very important.
Please, Mr. Mole.
I want to tell you that it's all right.
What's all right?
about what I felt about you. I've got the whole thing straightened out.
Oh, wonderful. But I'm very flattered and I'm gracious, but I really must insist that you go now.
Please go, Mr. Mole. Miss Essendine's in the middle of a conference.
Oh, like hell I am. Miss Erickson, Fred the door.
Oh, Mr. Mole, I really do think it would be better if you came back later.
Couldn't I stay a little longer? You see, every moment I'm near him, I just get smoother and smoother and smoother. My whole rhythm improves tremendously.
Well, Joanna, she's disappeared.
I thought you weren't coming back till tomorrow.
She hasn't been home all night, Gary, and nobody knows where she is.
Don't worry, Hugo. She spent the night with me.
But I rang up Maggie and she said she hadn't seen her.
There's a reason for that. I'll explain later.
Wait until you hear it.
No. Something has happened. I had a presentiment in the aeroplane.
I always have a presentiment in the aeroplane. A presentiment that I'm going to be sick. I think I'm going to be sick now.
But why did Maggie say she hadn't seen her?
Ring her up if you don't believe me. Monica, get my flat on the telephone.
How do you do? My name's Roland Ball.
Mr. Mole.
Hello? Joanna? Yes, Hugo would like to speak with you. Yes, he is here, in the studio.
Darling, you gave me the most awful fright. No, I got done yesterday and there was no sense in staying any longer. I even sent you a telegram.
Oh.
No, I couldn't think what had happened. Yes, we are all here. Are you going back to the house now? All right, I'll be in to change in about half an hour.
Oh!
Yes, I will. Liz, she says that she'll be going out in a minute.
Tell her to stay where she is, and I'll pop in presently.
Liz says to stay where you are and she'll be in presently. What?
What'd she say?
She said that she feels like she's in a French farce and is sick to death of it. Hello? And now she's hung up.
Yeah.
There's a Lady Saltburn outside.
A lady who?
Saltburn. She says she has an appointment for 11:30.
Oh, good heavens, what day is it?
Black Thursday.
Thursday. Lady Saltburn's niece, you promised her an audition and that you would recommend her to the Royal Academy or something.
I most certainly did not. She must be sent away immediately.
You can't send Lady Saltburn away. She donated £50 to the Footlights Fund.
I can't see people's nieces this morning. I'm on the verge of a nervous breakdown.
Why?
No!
Happened?
What?
What's happened?
No! Too much, Hugo. Far too much.
You must see her.
No.
It will only take a moment.
No.
It would be terribly rude not to. You promised.
No!
Fred, ask her in.
Radio, miss.
Well, we better get going. I'll be back later. Gary, Liz, Hugo.
All right, let's go to Liz's flat and we'll talk to Joanna.
Oh, no. We have to go to the office. I have something very important to talk to you about.
All very exciting, isn't it?
Lady Saltburn. Miss Stillington.
Oh, Mr. Essendine, how perfectly charming of you.
Oh, not at all. It's a pleasure.
Oh, yes, and this is my niece, Daphne.
Oh,
I
hello.
believe you knew her mother years ago. Oh, she died, you know, in Africa.
Oh, how tragic.
Yes.
I've been longing to meet you, Mr. Essendine. I've loved everything you've ever done.
Oh, how very nice of you, yes.
Daphne wouldn't give me a moment's peace until I'd rung up your secretary and positively implored her for an appointment. She's very keen, you know.
Oh, she must be. I must introduce you to my secretary, Miss Reed,
yes.
and my wife,
Ah,
Lady Saltburn.
how do you do? You were very kind on the phone.
Yes.
How are you?
Well, and these two vivacious characters, Mr. Dixon, Mr. Lippiott.
Oh, hello. So nice to meet you.
Mr. Mole.
Mr.
Mr. Mole.
Oh, this is quite a peek behind the scenes.
No, one peep is quite enough.
This is the most thrilling moment of my life, Mr. Essendine. I always wondered what you'd be like close to.
Daphne, you mustn't embarrass Mr. Essendine.
Mr. Essendine understands, don't you, Mr. Essendine?
Oh, Mr. Essendine understands everything, but I'm sorry I can only give you a few minutes. You see, I'm currently preparing and making arrangements for my trip to Africa.
Oh, you're going to Africa? How perfectly marvelous. Perhaps you could look up my brother-in-law. He lives on a beautiful mountain at the top.
Oh, I can hardly wait.
Forgive us, Lady Saltman. We have to leave now.
Oh, so sorry. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Goodbye, Mr. Maul.
Liz?
Oh, no.
I'll be by later.
Goodbye, Lady Saltburn.
Goodbye. Goodbye. Nice meeting you. Yeah.
Goodbye, Mr. Maul.
Oh, no. I'm staying.
Daphne, are you ready? Mr. Essendine is clearly very busy. That he was very kind to see us at all. We mustn't impose on him.
No.
Yes, I'm ready.
Well, thank you.
What are you going to do?
Nothing very much. I'll try not to bore you. I just want you to hear me. It would mean everything to me. You will hear me, won't you? You can hear me, can't you?
Daphne, what are you talking about?
Mr. Essendine knows what I'm talking about, don't you, Mr. Essendine?
Oh, yes, Mr. Essendine understands completely. Mr. Essendine understands everybody. What everyone doesn't seem to understand is that the strain of it is driving him step by step to a suicide's grave.
Don't be affected, Gary.
My wife, Lady Saltburn, she left me years ago. Gnawing regret has embittered her.
There's nothing worse than regret. Look at Chekhov, he knew.
I think we can leave Chekhov out of this, Mr. Maul. What are you going to do?
Oh, I'm not just...
Going to sing? Don't be nervous.
No, well, I'm not nervous. I just wish you weren't so many miles away. I'm not going to sing. I'm just going to recite a few lines.
Charming. Fire away.
We meet not as we parted.
I knew it.
We feel more than all may see. My bosom is heavy-hearted, and thine full of doubt for me. One moment has bound the free. That moment has gone forever, like lightning that flashed and died, like a snowball upon the river.
Snowflake.
Like a snowflake upon the river, like a sunbeam on the tide, which the dark shadows hide. That moment of time was Singland.
Singland? That's a new one.
As the first of a life of pain, the cup of its joy was mingled.
Mingled, it just keeps getting better.
Delusion too sweet, though vain, too sweet to be mine again.
No! Oh, that's...
That room is like a Frigidaire, and I have no intention of staying in it 1 minute longer. Will someone kindly call me a taxi?
Oh, dear. You had better take my card, Joanna. It's downstairs.
The driver's got red hair, and his name is Frobisher.
Thank you very much. I shan't be seeing you anymore, Gary, as I'm going to Paris tomorrow for a month. So this is goodbye. I do hope you will be wise to bring along all your staunch, loyal satellites with you when you go to Africa. You'll be too unprotected for a little tinsel star to go twinkling off all alone. Please don't imagine that I haven't enjoyed the circus enormously, because I have. But in all the circuses I've been used to, it's always been the ringmaster who cracks the whip, and not the clown.
Oh, splendid! This is splendid! I feel reborn!
I shall never forget those lovely days in Madeira and our picnics on the rocks. What fun we had. It really was wonderful getting to know you intimately. Now, for my exciting news. I am coming to England. Imagine. I arrive on the 28th and shall be in London for 3 whole weeks. You remember you told me to let you know a good deal beforehand if I should be coming, and so I am doing so. I am so longing to see you again with my love and many glorious memories. Yours, Winnie.
When's it dated?
November the 7th.
Well, it's over 6 months ago, so it must be gone by now. Much too late to answer.
Much.
Poor Winnie.
This one is signed Joe.
Joe what?
Just Joe. It's dated March the 2nd.
Have a look.
It says that he met you in the south of France.
Oh! It's Joe!
That's what I said.
Ah, I remember Joe. He was marvelous. We met at a bar in Marseille. He's dark green and comes from Madras. What does he want?
It's right here under the bit about his sister having a baby.
Oh! Oh! Well, he just wants an autograph photograph. But why didn't you send him one?
Because I didn't consider that Joe Madras was sufficient address.
I'll be damned if I can remember his last name.
Well, he's out of luck then, isn't he?
I wonder if I'll ever see my dark green England again.
Yeah, I don't see why you shouldn't.
Well, I might die of some tropical disease or be bitten by a snake.
I doubt if there are any snakes in the larger cities.
I can see it now, trapped underneath a mosquito net, grasping for breath.
Who with?
Oh, you know what, Monica? You have no imagination. You just have a flat, literal mind. Must be so depressing for you.
Yeah, I get by.
How many more letters are there to do?
About 20.
Ugh, put them away until I come back. I can't bear it.
You seemed to be in doubt just now whether you were coming back.
Well, I can't answer letters if I'm dead, can I? Never a moment's peace. Always going and going. Never a moment to say goodbye to my beautiful pictures and my books. I slave, and what do I get?
Nonsense. You have all evening to say goodbye to your books and your pictures.
Have you finished with this tray? I'd like to get going.
What can I say, Fred? Is everything packed?
All except the small stuff, but we can pop it in the morning.
Oh, is this Doris's swan song?
How do you mean?
Doesn't matter. Never mind.
I really must be going.
Don't leave me, Monica. I feel so depressed.
I'll be back first thing in the morning.
Monica, I can't believe I'll have to go to Africa without you. I'll be lost with some dreary temporary.
Is Liz coming to the station?
No.
You really ought to go around and see her.
Well, you know, she's in a rage still. I've tried to telephone her 3 times, and each time she speaks to me like I'm some idiot child. I'm not even sure she didn't try to spell some of the words out to me.
Would you like me to have a go at her?
No, if she wants to behave like an outraged mother superior, let her get on with it.
You know, I see her point. You did go a bit too far.
Now, don't you start with me too, Monica.
All right. I'll take these into the office.
Nothing more you want?
No, Fred.
That was some party we had, eh? How many did we have?
Oh, I don't know, 60, I think.
Woo, 60. Well, between them all, they put away enough gin to float the Queen Mary.
You better call me at 8 in the morning, Fred. We have to leave the house by 10.
Rightio.
Good night, Fred.
Good night, sir. Be good.
And do be careful if the telephone should ring. Mr. Moore has been calling all week.
Oh, I don't know. I might actually welcome him tonight. At least he'd be thrilling psychologically.
So would Rasputin.
I feel so flat, Monica. I suppose one always does before going away.
Now, you're getting to be a big boy. You're going to be 45 next birthday, just fancy.
55, you know, just fancy.
I really must be going home.
You know, I envy you, Monica. You're so efficient and unruffled. You go churning through life like some frightening old warship.
Thank you, dear. That sounds very attractive. Good night.
Good night. Hello, who's speaking, please? No, Colonel Pritchard is not here tonight. He died of drink on Tuesday. Oh.
I'm going away now, Mr. Essendine. Have you everything you want?
No, Miss Erickson, I have nothing that I want.
Oh, what a pity.
Have you? Have any of us got what we want?
Oh, Mr. Essendine, you are only acting. For a moment, you made me quite upset.
You lead an interesting life, Miss Erickson. Do you enjoy it?
Yeah.
Tell me about it from A to Z.
Do you mind if I pinch a cigarette?
Pinch anything you like, Miss Erickson.
It is so silly. I'm always smoking so much and always running out. Most silly.
You dropped one. Well, for instance, where are you going now?
Oh, I'm going to my friend in Hammersmith.
Oh, Fred tells me she's a medium.
Oh, yeah, Jess. She will make a trance sometimes and lie on the ground for hours. It is most surprising. And then she may make noises.
Oh, what kind of noises?
Oh, they were all different. Sometimes she will sing way up high like a little bird, and other times she will make a little bark. Often she was quite ill.
I'm not surprised.
Well, I really must be pushing off now, Mr. Essendine.
Very well, Miss Erickson. Good night. It's been most interesting.
Oh. Good night.
Good night. Daphne, what is the meaning of this?
I'm coming with you to Africa. I bought my ticket this afternoon.
You what?
I've run away. I've left a letter for my aunt. You see, I know something now. I've known it really ever since that awful day that I fainted. I know that you need me as much as I need you.
Oh, no, not really, my dear
Please
child.
stop talking for a moment. I've thought it all over very carefully. I know I'm much younger than you and all that, but I could help you and look after you.
Now, Daphne, this is all really too absurd. You must go home immediately.
I knew you'd say that.
Daphne, please put your coat back on. This is very silly.
I felt ashamed on Thursday. Ashamed ever since I pulled a trick on you by having my auntie ring up for an audition. But once I was here, I was glad.
Oh, you were glad, were you?
Yes, I think that's why I fainted. You see, I finally realized the truth.
The truth?
Yes. How desperately lonely you are, despite all the people around you, despite all your success. I know how much you long for someone to be there for you and to really love you. And when I saw that dreadful prostitute come out of the spare room in that tawdry evening dress...
That was not a prostitute. That was the wife of one of my dearest friends.
No, Gary, you can't deceive me, I know.
Daphne, once and for all, I insist that you put your coat back on, get back in the taxi, and go back to your aunt.
You needn't be frightened. I won't make any demands of you, whatever. I'm not asking you to marry me. I don't think that real love should be defined by church and law. I'm just coming with you, that's all.
Oh.
I'll be there when you're tired and when you're lonely and when you want someone to put their arms around you. I won't even come on the boat if you don't want. I'm not a very good sailor anyhow.
Oh, there's the front door.
Who is it?
Well, how should I know? You better get into the spare room.
No, Gary, not the spare room!
But that's what it's for!
Whoever it is, get them to leave!
Just don't argue. Take your coat and get into the spare room. Mr. Mole!
Forgive me, I must see you.
Well, I'm sorry you can't. I was just going to bed.
I'm afraid I must insist. You see, it's a matter of life and death.
Now, Mr. Mole, what is the meaning of you forcing yourself into my house like this?
That's right. Shout, shout. You're magnificent when you're angry.
You know what? You're just raving bloody mad. That's all that's wrong with you.
Oh, no, I'm not. You're the one who's mad.
Mr. Mole, I insist you leave my house immediately.
I'm afraid I told a wicked lie just now when I said it was a matter of life and death.
Mr. Mole, if you don't leave this house immediately, I'm going to telephone the police if you haven't left by the time I count to 10.
No, I shan't let you. I'm tremendously strong, you know. I can lift the heaviest things imaginable without turning a hair.
Now, look here, Mr. Mole.
You may call me Roland.
Oh, well, Roland, let me put this to you quietly and efficiently. I have a great deal to do tonight before I leave tomorrow.
You said just now that you were going to bed.
Well, be that as it may.
I know you think I'm mad. I really don't blame you a bit, but I'm not at all. I merely have an exceptional brain, a brain that could be of inestimable service to you. As I told you the other night, you signify a great deal to me.
Yes, I remember. Trust me, I do. I'm very flattered and all, but I really must insist that you go.
I wonder if I could have a biscuit?
A what?
You know, a biscuit. Om nom nom.
By all means, help yourself, Roland.
Oh, thank you. I promise you faithfully I'll go after I finish my biscuit. After all, there's no valid reason, is there, why I shouldn't be acting being mad just as you are acting being sane?
Oh, I'm not acting.
You are always acting. That's what is so fascinating, and you're so used to it, you don't even know it yourself. I'm always acting, too. I've been acting being mad with you because it amuses me to see you put on a surprised face. I'm absolutely devoted to your face in every mood.
I don't suppose you'd like to act getting the hell out of here, would you?
Oh, that's wonderful.
Mr. Moore, what is it that you want?
To be with you. That's why I'm coming to Africa.
You what?
I bought a ticket today. It's steerage, but it's better than nothing. I've given up my law studies and left Uckfield for good. That's why I'm rather excitable tonight. You needn't be frightened I shall get in your way or make any demands on you.
Oh, you mean you don't expect me to marry you? Oh, there's the front door. Now look, Mr. Roland, you said that you would leave after you finished your biscuit like a good boy. Now I need you to go.
I'm not going to allow you to turn me away. You'll regret it your whole life long if you do. I have a profound conviction about it that nothing will shake.
No, Mr. Mall, right, look, where are you going, Mr. Mall? No, not into the office, Mr. Mall. No! Mr. Mall, come out of there immediately! Roland! Oh, my God! Ah! Joanna!
Hello, darling.
Joanna, what is the meaning of this?
Don't you know?
Yes, you're coming to Africa with me. You bought your ticket this afternoon. You're not going to put any demands on me, and you're not a good sailor.
I'm a perfect sailor. What are you going to do about it? What are you doing?
Telephoning. Hello, I'm terribly sorry. It's the wrong number. Yes!
Who are you calling?
It doesn't matter anymore.
Darling, underneath this rather taut, strained manner of yours, deep down inside, aren't you just a little bit glad to see me?
Oh, I'm absolutely delighted. It will settle everything once and for all.
That's what I thought.
When did you get back from Paris?
This afternoon. Didn't you get my telegram?
Yes, Monica read it out to me.
I meant her to.
I understood that you were going to stay in Paris for a month.
Oh, no, you didn't, darling. You knew perfectly well that I wouldn't. I must say, I did try for the first few days to put you out of my mind. I railed against you, said the most dreadful things that you weren't there to hear. And then I remembered.
What did you remember?
I remembered what you said to me the other night. You said, "It doesn't matter what happens now, what circumstances combine against us, what tears are shed. This is magic, the loveliest magic I've ever known."
That's out of the second act of my play, Love is So Simple.
Yes, I recognized it.
Well,
I saw the play several times, you know.
Oh, well, in that case, why on earth did you believe it?
I didn't. But the fact of your saying it proved something to me. It proved that you were no more sincere emotionally than I am, that you no longer need or desire the pangs of love, but are perfectly happy to settle for the fun of love. I couldn't agree with you more.
That's the most immoral statement I've heard in my life.
Oh, but it's true, isn't it? As I told you the other night, I've always wanted you. You're the first man I've met who's been worthy of my steel. Can't guarantee that we'll be domestically happy together, but we'll have a good time.
Oh, well, I'll be damned.
You were quite right when you said just now, with remarkable clairvoyance, that I was coming to Africa with you. I've got the bridal suite.
You what?
Oh, it is all they had left. In addition to that, I've written a note to Hugo, telling him everything.
Oh.
He's dining with Morris. They can read it together.
Oh.
Who's that?
Oh, Liz, I'm terribly sorry. Wrong number.
Hello, Joanna.
Oh, good evening, Liz, dear. How nice you look.
Thank you so much. I try my best.
I think it only fair to tell you I'm sailing with Gary tomorrow.
What fun! So am I.
You what?
I decided this afternoon.
Oh, well, it'll certainly be a big day for the Cunard line.
If I must say so, Liz, I think you're being rather silly.
I don't see why. It'll be charming. We can all eat together and do our lifeboat drills together.
Oh, Joanna has written a note to Morris and Hugo explaining everything.
Good, then they'll probably be coming too.
You must think you're being rather clever, don't you, Liz? Personally, I think you're making the greatest mistake of your life. It's always foolish not to have the courage to admit defeat.
You seem to imagine that I am competing with you. I assure you I am doing nothing of the sort. We can't prevent you from coming along if you want to, but you had better learn before it's too late. From a social and publicity angle, you will be there as a friend of mine.
Oh, I'll give you 3 guesses who that is.
The gathering of the clans.
I'll get it, Gary.
Perhaps I've been wrong about you after all. You haven't got the guts of a rabbit.
Well, I'm perfectly glad I don't. I'm sure they'd be completely inadequate.
Is it true? That's all that I want to know. Is it true?
False friend, false friend.
Come, Morris, you're not at the Athenaeum Club now.
No good trying to be flippant, Gary. This is a miserable, disgusting situation, and you know it.
It's a stab in the back. It's a low-down stab in the back.
Not too far low down, I hope.
Shut up, Gary.
I've had a note from Joanna. You know that, I suppose.
Yes, he does. I've just told him.
Is what it says in here true?
How should I know? I haven't read it.
Oh, don't be flippant. She says that the two of you have been lovers and that you're going away together tomorrow. Is that true?
Perfectly true.
Answer me, Gary, answer me.
I'll tell you what's true and what isn't true, and you can stop bouncing up and down like a rubber ball.
Be careful, Gary.
Be careful. I'm done being careful with all of you. To be done with a lot of you.
Have you or have you not been Joanna's lover?
Yes, I have.
You miserable cad.
Oh, dear.
Now, I always told you it was a grave mistake and that you ought never to have married Joanna.
Or you have the damned impertinence to stand there after seducing my wife and...
Now, let's get down to the brass tacks, Hugo, all right? You know perfectly well that I didn't seduce your wife. In fact, why don't we stop for just a few minutes and think about it honestly? I think if you do, you'll find that you don't mind in the least. It's Morris that minds at the moment.
Morris?
Gary, that was disgraceful of you.
Disgraceful my fault. I'm sick of everyone lying and acting and intriguing all over the place.
All right, Gary, you win. I didn't think anyone in the world could sink so low.
Oh, fiddle-dee-dee.
What did you mean about Morris? Answer me.
I'll tell you what's between them. It's Morris and Joanna have been having an abortive little ding-dong under your silly little nose for the past few months now.
I'm never going to speak to you again until the day I die.
Well, we can have a nice chat then, can't we?
Morris? Joanna? Is it true?
Of course it's true. Of course, it hasn't been going on as long as your rather dreary affair with Elvira Radcliffe that's been hiccuping along for a year now.
Hugo!
Oh, Joanna, no. Don't even try to pretend that you mind in the least. It gave you room to expand.
How could you be so vile as to betray me like that? I told you that in the deepest confidence.
I'm sick to death of being stuffed with people's confidences. I'm bulging with them. You, all of you, come to me time and time again and pour your damn emotions and sentiment and tears all over me to the point where I'm wet through. Now you guys say that I'm the badly behaved one, but in a lot of ways you all are just as bad, and in many cases a lot worse than I am. And you believe in your amorous hangovers, where at least I have the grace to take mine lightly. You wallow and I laugh, because I have always believed and now believe that there's far too much nonsense talked about sex. It's vastly overrated if you ask me. Fine, sure, I'll go on for as long as I will, and I'll enjoy every minute of it for as long as anyone will have me. But when the time comes that they don't, I will be perfectly happy to go to bed with an apple and a good book.
I'll be damned.
Of all the praise and soft.
You have the nerve to talk about our moral indignation when we all know
I don't
about
have the nerve of anything. I'm just telling the truth for once.
Truth. You wouldn't be able to recognize the truth if it saw you in the face. You spend your whole life attitudinizing, posturing, and showing off.
And I'd like to know where we'd all be if I didn't.
For heaven's sake, stop shouting. All of you, you'll have the roof off.
Listen, calm down, Gary. We're all trying our best here.
I'm sick of this idiotic performance. I'm going.
If it hadn't been for our restraining influence, you'd be making B movies by now.
Oh, I suppose you're going to tell me next that it was your restraining influence that made me the idol of the public for the past 20 years.
You are not the idol of the public.
Oh?
Oh, they'll see you in the right play, in the right part, and you've got to be good at that. But
If it wasn't for us, you would have done Peer Gynt.
I'm going. I'm leaving.
If I so much hear the words Peer Gynt in this house again, I will put on the most expensive production ever in the largest theater in London ever.
Not on my money, you won't.
Oh, we're back to that again, are we?
we're not back to anything. If it hadn't been for Hugo and I signing the contract for the Foreign Theater, we'd wash our hands of you forever.
You what?
I'm going. Do you hear me, all of you? I'm leaving. For good.
Take my car. It's downstairs.
It's been a great evening for speaking the truth, hasn't it? And I should like to add one little contribution to the entertainment before I leave. I consider you, Mr. Gary Essendine, to not only be an overbearing, affected egomaniac, but the most unmitigated cad it has ever been my misfortune to meet, and I most devoutly hope that I shall never set eyes on you again for as long as I live.
Oh. Do you mean to tell me that you signed a contract for that theater when I specifically said nothing would induce me to play in it ever?
Now look here, Gary.
I'll not look there, I'll not look anywhere. I'm sickly and deeply, deeply angry with all of you.
Look, Gary, we said they would fix up the whole theater. They even agreed to put a shower bath in your dressing room.
I don't care if they agree to put a swimming pool in my dressing room.
It is going to be very comfortable, Gary.
Darling, I've seen the designs. They're awfully good.
Oh, so you're now against me as well. Oh, the whole world's against me, are they?
Look, Gary, we said that we would do the best we
Look,
can.
I am sick of it. I am deeply, deeply angry with all of you. Go away, all of you. It's bad enough that I have to go away tomorrow on a month-long voyage to that across the breadth and length of that god-awful sea voyage and to the most sinister continent there is. Go away, all of you. Parasites, vultures. For 20 years I gave you my youth. Where is my youth? For 20 years, it sent whistling after all that, just whistling down the wind. For the past 20 years, I've given you my vitality. Oh, where is my vitality? Where is my vitality? Drained out of me.
Go on now. I'll talk to him.
That performance wouldn't deceive a kitten. He's losing his grip, Liz.
I don't know. It actually might work. In New York,
Oh, who's that?
It's me, darling.
Oh, who's me? Me.
Right here.
Me. Oh, is that you, Liz?
Yes.
Is that
Yes.
you?
It's me.
Yeah, oh, Liz, it's you. I think I need something to sip on, something stimulating.
Whiskey or brandy?
Oh, brandy, it's much more stimulating.
Okay, dear.
Okay, no, hold on. More.
Here you go. Here you go.
What is it?
Brandy.
Oh, right, it's brandy. It's much more stimulating. Oh. Well, Liz, you're not really coming back to Africa or coming to Africa with me, are you?
Certainly I am. And not only that, I'm coming back to you for good.
Oh, Liz, no. You don't need to come back to me. I'm perfectly happy the way I am.
That can't be helped. You behave abominably, and you might not be able to be quite so bad if I'm there with you.
Liz, have you no heart? Have you no soul? I implore you not to come back to me.
I'm thinking of the good of the firm. Oh, that reminds me. I need to leave a note for Monica. I need her to ring up the bank first thing in the morning.
No, wait, no.
What's the matter?
Liz, darling, you're not coming back to me. I'm coming back to you.